Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I want to talk today about lessons learned. What lessons have we learned? I was thinking about doing something right along these lines, but I'm going to give credit here because one of our patrons, J. Johns, just sent in a response to another comment over on one of the Patreon videos, and he asked a great question, and I don't think I could have put it any better, if as well. And so I'm just going to read his question here, and it brings us the opportunity to really give it some thought. It's a chilly morning here. went up to hockey this morning with second son, and got back and going to go out and do some work in the yard after I do this. But I hardly ever have to put gloves on to come out here in the morning. Okay, here's what J. John said, and I'm going to be very interested to hear your all's responses to this. He says, I put more energy, and this was in response. We were talking about the snake venom situation that we were talking about a few days ago. And he says he addressed that. Well, I'll read the whole thing. He says there's a long list of products and medications developed as a result of studying natural compounds that properties found in snake venom were used in creating a vaccine. Technology isn't really surprising. That it's being used the way it is without significant studies is what's troubling to me. The law of unintended consequences tends to be painful. Well, I'll go along with that 100%. Here's the question, or here's the statement that offers us the question. He says, I put more energy into the lessons learned over the last 24 months. That might make a good video. So, of course, when I read that, I said, that might make a good video, and here we are. What have we learned about our government, the extent to which they can and will flex? What have we learned about the media, the supply chain, the behavior of our fellow citizens in a crisis, our behavior during a crisis? What holes are there in our preparedness plans and systems? There's much to think about. We'll let Hot Rodder go by there. There's more coming in the next 12 to 24 months, and we should prepare accordingly. That's right. He says, my default position and first question I ask when these topics hit our community is, what are you going to do differently? Our goal should be to have the response, meh, got that covered. I think that's excellent. Thank you, Jay Johns, for that. Oh, this is a perfect, I meant to welcome everybody. I should have, I'm sorry. Welcome to all the new people, all the new subscribers. We've just got a ton of new subscribers over on Patreon. It's good to have you all here. You'll find that on Patreon, we put, of course, all the content that you see on YouTube, and then a whole lot of other stuff. And some of it's content from me, some of it's content from other people, some of it's music, some of it's just, it's all interesting stuff that I think has to do about preparedness, the way of the world, the way we think, the way that we should think, things like that. And so it's good to have you all here. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to put up another one just for Patreon here later today. His questions are excellent. The last couple of years have been, and I'll go even back farther than that. I'll go back to the beginning of the Trump administration, which I told people either we have a 4-year reprieve or an 8-year reprieve, and you know what I'm talking about there. It turned out we had a 4-year, and that's too bad. Those who made the most of those 4 years are sitting pretty. Those who didn't are still kind of going, oh wow, I wished I'd done a little bit more, right? But everything that comes along, like this last 2 years of constant attacks on our freedoms, on our economy, on our society, has given us, it's been an excellent opportunity to see how prepared we are. Every crisis is an opportunity, and it should be used as a drill. Am I prepared for this? What was it that came along that caught me off guard? Did it turn out to, yeah, I've got most of it, but oops, this little thing in there, I hadn't thought about that maybe as much as I should have. I'm going to go through these just a little bit, these individual questions, and I'd love to hear all of your responses. One of the great things about this channel, and I've kind of explained this before, it's really a community. I suggest that everyone not only listen or watch the video, but read the comments down below, because we just have some exceptional people. I say that I have the smartest commenters in YouTube land. I'll argue that with anybody, and I'll say that over on Patreon, it's the cream even of that crop. But your input, first your reading of the comments below is instructional in addition to what you may get out of the video. And that's why I police the comments so much. I don't let trash stay in there. We get people trying to throw trash in the comments. All right, hey, that's life, right? But I get rid of them. And because you all shouldn't have to wade through that stuff and deal with it either. It doesn't bother me, except the time that it takes to do it. But, what the heck. So he goes into this. Let me put out these questions. What have we learned about our government, the extent to which they can and will flex? I'll give my answer on that in just a short way. I haven't trusted our government since 1971. When I got my first view into the way the government, as represented by the military, thinks. And that's not a slam on the military at all. It's a slam on the way that it operates, the institutionalism, the systemic problems within it. There's a lot of great guys in the military. When I got my first peek of the internal workings of the powers that be, I said, nope, not for me. When I went then into the police service in 1974, and then I started getting a real look, not a real look yet. As a young cop, you don't get to see the insides of things. Later on, after I'd done my time on the street and went undercover and did some other things, and I saw both on local and federal and state, local, state, and federal units, I saw, and it was the reason that I left, I saw that there was nothing they would not do to do whatever they wanted to be real honest. And that a lot of those things they wanted to do and felt that they were privileged to do were not only unconstitutional, but illegal, immoral, and all sorts of the other ills and ims. So nothing the government has done since then has surprised me. If anything, I guess I'm a little more surprised that they haven't gone more overboard than they have. But, it's been an ebb and a flow through the years. And it's been held in check to a certain amount by people and certain politicians, certainly not all. People fighting back a little bit, slowing things down, stopping, slowing, stopping, who knows? I mean, you never know until the end whether you ever stopped it or not, right? But it's difficult to know. And if there had not been any pushback, I'm sure we would be in full-blown communism now. So yeah, to the extent to which the government can and will flex, well, it can flex a lot more than it has. It will flex to the extent that it thinks it can get away without riling the people too much. Okay, that's my opinion. Put down yours. What have we learned about the media? Okay, what have I learned about the media? I used to believe the media, right? I was raised on Walter Cronkite And all those people, we believed it all. We had 30 minutes of news, local news, and then 30 minutes, actually I think it was the other way around, 30 minutes of national news at 5:30, 30 minutes of local news at 6. Nobody paid attention to it except for the fathers. They watched it because that was kind of their job to keep track of what was going on in the world. We didn't much care, but we just figured that they were telling us the truth. Well, we found out about that, didn't we? I think the thing that really brought it home to me one time was when we were on a raid. It was the first time that something that I had personally been involved in was on the news. I was a young cop, right? And so when I saw the news crews there, and we'd been there, and I thought, oh wow, this is cool. It's going to be on the news. So I went. I don't know. I think I was working a day shift. So I went home. I was going to watch the news, right? When they covered that, I didn't recognize it. There was nothing about the reporting that was even close to what had actually happened. And I thought, what? They've got this all wrong. So I thought I'd discovered something. No, they got the wrong story. Silly me, right? I learned my lesson on that. And it just got worse after that. We had a couple of times. Now, I was undercover, so I wasn't on a lot of raids because we would undercover and then we'd have either the SWAT or the entry teams or do that. But there was a couple of the raids that I was involved with. And I remember one that we went in and, kicked the door, cleared the house. And the news, of course, we kept them back, way back. Not like they do nowadays, 3 blocks away, but like, hey, man, go down a couple of houses so you don't get shot, which means I have to take a report. So anyway, we kicked the door, we cleared it out, yelling, screaming, got the guy secured, and then the guy who was, I remember his name, but I won't use it. He was a famous news guy in Kansas City. He came up with his camera crew, and he says, okay, would you do that again? Okay, we'll film it like you're really doing it. And I thought, what? And my captain was a good hard ass. There's a lot of political cops that would go along with it. Yeah, this would be a great opportunity to get us. Well, our unit, we didn't want to be known. We didn't want to be seen, and so our captain just kind of looked at him and said, F you, and we got in our cars and left. But so I learned about the news, and the more that I was involved in, I knew that the news has nothing to do with news, just like the so-called justice system has nothing to do with justice. Okay, the supply chain. Well, we have learned about the supply chain, haven't we? And of course, those of us in preparedness have always known the fragility of the supply chain. Most people have 3 to 7 days worth of food at home, and as I say, that's after they've scraped out all the ketchup packets and cracker crumbs in the back of the cupboard. The stores, we operate on a just-in-time. I apologize for the traffic noise. It's Saturday morning. People like to get out and scoot. We'll probably hear some motorcycles come by. There's one. You mean you don't live out in the country somewhere up on? Nope, I don't. I live in the suburbs, and I like it. All right, buddy, there's my dog. So the supply chain is extremely fragile. We operate on a just-in-time delivery systems. People buy so much. That's the thing, people buy so much that they can. I worked in grocery stores back when I was a kid, and the back room used to be just full of stuff, for the next, I don't know how long, I had no idea, week or 2 weeks, I don't know, but not today. So we know that, and I write about it in my books a little bit, within a couple of days of a real problem, these stores could be cleared out. And even during this last thing, we saw a lot of shortages. We didn't see a lot here, but I know that there were some around, Canada and other parts of the United States. We did see a number of times things being completely out at our grocery store, not for a long time, for a few days. But for the most part, they haven't been. You know how they used to be stocked full all the way to the back. It's been like everything's been pulled to the front of the shelf. So we know that. That's not news. So we have learned about the fragility of the supply chains. Boy, here's one: the behavior of our fellow citizens in a crisis, and our own in a crisis. I think that has to do with the how wide how wide your loop is. We certainly saw people. We have seen our country, our communities divided by this thing, to where there's been an absolute hatred by one group for another, and some people who wanted people to be forced to do something. They wanted those people fired, shut down, their businesses, their families ruined. Some wanted them to be arrested. I mean, that doesn't really surprise me because, I've worked with the dregs of society for most of my life. And so it doesn't surprise the hatred of some people for another, especially certain groups against other groups. That doesn't surprise me. But I think that it has brought it to the attention of a lot more people. Now, what that will bring about, the understanding that I think it's had an effect. I think it has illuminated a large segment of our society as to the real agenda allergies, the real agenda of the far left, and the real danger of it, and the tyranny, and the fact that it is really it is their purpose to have control over other people, and I do not trust anyone who wants control over others. Our behavior during a crisis, and I'll be real interested to hear your all's comments on that last one, and all of them. Our behavior during a crisis, that's a good one to think about, right? Do you see anything in that you might have done differently? Do you see anything that you were surprised at? Did you surprise yourself at any? I've thought about this. I don't really hear, but then, I live a very preparedness-centric life. Kelly and I both lost our jobs over this simply because when they made it a requirement, right, we said no. We both did get, I put in from my church a religious exemption request, which they did grant, but then they wanted us to take tests. I had done a lot of research. Kelly had done a lot of research. My people, our group is very strong medically. They knew that there were certain concerns with the tests. And so I said, no, I won't be doing those either. Besides that, I'm not going to subject myself to what, and I wrote them a big long letter and explained it. I'm not going to subject myself to what I consider to be a discriminatory and punitive practice because of my refusal to do something that I feel is illegal and immoral to keep my job, and so I just won't do it. And so, we lost our jobs over that, and that's fine. That's right. The thing is that I had many other, like I have suggested to everyone, many other streams of income that allowed us to do that. And so if you were caught in a bind there, man, I am really sorry. But I should suggest again, develop more streams of income. I'm fortunate. I'm a writer. Okay, I write books for a living. And so, yeah, we were fortunate. I won't say we're lucky because it had nothing to do with luck. I work very hard. I work very hard writing my books and things like that. And for those of you who said, oh, no, I know there's none of you left here that complain about me mentioning and even promoting my books. By the way, if you want to buy them, down below, the links are down there, the Stonemont series. Love to have you as a part of the Stonemont community. So our behavior in a crisis. Okay. And then what holes are there in our preparedness plans? Excuse me. I jumped over that faster than I should have, because this is a great question that deserves a lot more consideration. And so please do comment on this. Our behavior during a crisis. I wonder how many people it caused family problems for. We know that there are families who split over this, who one half, felt one way, another half the other way. And I think people finally wondered how families could split over things like, the American Revolution and the War of Northern Aggression and those things. How could families split? Well, we saw families split over this, didn't we? It's probably destroyed some families. But in doing so, it sure illuminated I know I use that word a lot. It sure illuminated what people really stood for and what they don't. And maybe sometimes something like this is necessary to get a real bead on who is who and what's what. So, did that cause any problems with you? Did you surprise yourself at all with your behavior or the behavior of your family or friends? Did you lose friends? Did you lose family? Did you find your beliefs adjusting a little bit? Not making any judgments there, just asking the question. What holes were there in your preparedness plans and systems? That's, like I says, there's much to think about there. That is, and that's self-explanatory. I don't even need to go any farther with that. But that I'd love to hear everybody's comments on that. And guys, remember, when you comment, you're helping others who are going to come along and leave and read your comments. So you're not just responding to me, but you're helping others. So, and I appreciate it, and they appreciate that. There's more coming, he says, in the next 12 to 24 months, and we should prepare accordingly. That's right. How do you prepare accordingly for what you don't know is coming? 12 to 24 months is just going to be, I think it's going to make this last 12 to 24 look like a warm-up. We'll see. But how do you prepare? Good basic preparedness squared, whatever, to the 10th degree. Basic preparedness is being able to provide for all of your needs, right? Shelter, food, water, protection, all of those things, community, friends, family. Would you be able to survive? Whether you're out in the country or whether you're in the suburbs, would you be able to survive without any of the services that are at this time provided to you by an outside provider? And 99% of people, being honest, going to say, no, I can't. Or it would be very, very tough. It would be just a bare subsistence existence, and you want more than that. So you think about that, and I know that it's a myriad, a great many aspects to it, each of which could be a video of its own. Maybe I ought to start doing those. I really have stayed away from those individual kind of technical things, but maybe I will, as a result of this, kind of jump off on that. I don't know. I might just put them over on Patreon. We'll see. But one of the tenets of integrative preparedness is to be able to survive outside without the interrelated, the integrated systems over which you have little or no control. Gas, electric, food delivery, shelter, water, things like that, all those things. Can you provide for all of those yourself for an extended period of time? And I don't mean a month. I mean, I really say 2 years is a minimum as far as storage is concerned. And remember that stored food has only one purpose, and that's to allow you to not starve to death until you're producing all of your own food. I know that gets farther down the road than we're really talking about here. But think about that. If you lose your job, if you lose everything, and you have the ability to provide, light and heat and water and food for your home for a year, 2 years, think about how much better that feels. That if everything's shut off and you've got none of it, or just a little bit of it, or a month of it. So, Think about that. His final sentence, my default position and first question I ask when these topics hit our community is, what are you going to do differently? That's right. And so that's a great, put that down there for everybody's benefit. Our goal should be to have the response, man, I got that covered. That's just what I said. Okay, that's great food for thought. Jay Johns, thank you very much for your contribution. You all, I'm going to put this up and look forward to hearing all of your comments. You all, I probably won't put one up tomorrow. Tomorrow's Easter, and I might put one up later today for just Patreon. But I'm going to go out and work in the garden now. I saw somebody make a comment on, I don't even remember who it was. Who? Okay, I remember who it was, but I'm not going to say. They left a comment about me on another channel, right? They said, he seems like an interesting guy, but I noticed that his hands aren't calloused. And pretty much everybody who homesteads or works in the garden, their hands are calloused. Well, my hands used to be very calloused when I raised horses and worked outside all the time, but I don't do that. I write books now, and when I go outside and work, I wear these. Hey, you all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. You all have a great day. Have a very happy Easter, and I will talk to you Monday. Bye-bye.